What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans, and in this video, this live stream, I've got a special guest, someone whose PulseChain content is really good. Content is something that I've been enjoying in the PulseChain ecosystem. He's a really smart guy, so I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Hitson.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing, brother?
Yeah, good, man. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on the Liquid Loans stream. We've been trying to organize this for a few months, but yeah, good to finally make it happen.
Yeah, I know it's not always easy coordinating this. I think even today I had an unexpected thing I had to take care of that we had to push back a couple hours. So I appreciate you working with me on that.
No, man, it's good. We made it happen. So before we get into it, I've really been enjoying your content and your channel. You're a big PulseChain bull, but I want to hear a bit more about you. A quick bio, your background in crypto, and how you got into the PulseChain community.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people here in this community, a lot of us got in like about 2016, 2017 originally, and that was our first bull market experience. I definitely did that. I watched about $10,000 of investment turn into 100,000. Got my original 10,000 out, and then watched 90,000 turn into 3,000. And because I was in all kinds of altcoins, I had gotten completely out of Bitcoin. Some of them don't even exist anymore. So that's the risk I think you take when you start playing around too much. But and then it kind of as the bear market hit and lulled down, I didn't honestly took my eye off the ball a little bit. I was working a lot for an IT company that I got some ownership in, and was really dedicated to that at the time. But then in about end of 2020, beginning of 2021, I really started getting back into it, and I was fortunate enough to find out about Hex in December 2020. So right under a penny, great time looking back now, right? Just at a penny. Again, didn't really know what I was looking at yet. Had been suggested it by a friend of mine, and so I put a decent amount of money in there. And unfortunately, I did what a lot of traders do: is once I got a double up, I took 75% of it out, but I remember doing it too. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and stake out the rest of this like every year for the next 10 years. And that way I can't mess this up. If this coin does really good, I won't mess up. I wasn't quite a Richard Hart fanatic yet. I couldn't see through the flashy exterior, that he has. And I couldn't see, I was definitely still a trader back then, again. And I did a lot of trading in early 2021, which honestly I was very profitable at because, we all know it's not that hard to be profitable in a bull market, right? It's pretty easy. And so that was, those were good. It was good. And then, I remember I had my lessons learned from 2017. So as the bull market started to run up to like 60K on Bitcoin and stuff like that, and that was in the summer, before we had the first big drop. So when Richard Hart was calling the top, I was already taking some out. I was already taking profits. As you know, I put a little bit into like a CrossFit gym and some other things that I felt like I needed to diversify into. And at the time, I think I took some out at like 62K Bitcoin and 54K Bitcoin.
It's not far from the top, That's
good. Looking back, it was great timing. Like I couldn't have, and I didn't really know why. It wasn't because I was like, oh, this is definitely the top or anything. And then so we ended up getting basically at the point that we were kind of at the bottom of that dip around 30K, and PulseChain, right? PulseChain sacrifice was going live.
Yeah. That was
July. And I had no intentions of like going as hard as I did on it, but like I definitely FOMO'd in. I basically was like, I don't really like, after watching enough Richard Hart videos, I was like, he's so right about trading. He's so right about like the mentality, what it does to you. It's gambling basically. And I even struggled with that when I was doing it, because I was like, I used to play poker. I used to do all these things that were not really I love how Richard puts it, that we're two like people sitting on the end of the table there trying to take each other's money, and really, and in the end,
the house doesn't care.
Yeah, the house doesn't care. The centralized exchanges don't care. They make money, man. The people losing are typically people like us, in the long run. And so, anyways, I really did. At that point, I was all in on Hex, PulseChain, and then of course, I was fortunate enough to have one of my stakes come due for PulseX sacrifice. So, went as big as I could on that as well with the Hex. And so, really, I don't own anything else right now. Like, I got out of everything else. I really, my whole mentality back in July was, okay, well, Bitcoin's at 30K. It might go up to 120K. It might go down to 10K, like Richard said. If it goes up to 120, 150K, it's coming back down to 30. So I don't really care. Like, I was like, I don't care. Don't want to hold any of this stuff, and so, yeah, went FOMO'd hard into PulseChain.
Nice. Yeah, man. Well, I can see you got the PulseChain t-shirt on. Your content's really good. I was on Cabana with you, and you were pulling up some really good slides about some possible price predictions. Maybe we can get into that a bit later. But what do you think about the current climate? We've seen a big dip in the whole market in the last couple of days. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been thinking 20K, sub 20K Bitcoin since the summer. And it's easy to say that when we're on a dip like this, but I'll pull up the messages to all my friends who've been bear or bulls this whole time. I got quite a few friends that are in it this time that were not in it in 2017 and 2000. So they of course they're looking back and they're trying to judge the cycles based on the history that's happened, and that's all fine and dandy, but history may somewhat repeat itself, but it can't be exactly the same. Otherwise, everybody just wins, right? Like we'd all just know what was going to happen and play it perfectly. So I think you got a lot more institutional money in now into Bitcoin. You got countries that got money into it. You got the big, obviously like Saylor and some other people, Elon. So you just end up in this situation where there's just no way you don't have diminishing returns. I'm still a believer long term, but I've definitely shifted to, I love, again, one of Richard Hart's like quotes, and I might butcher it a little bit, but getting this right with crypto is like the most important financial thing you could be doing in your life right now.
100%.
Right. And so, do you want a 10X or do you want to try to find something that's going to 100, 1,000, possibly 10,000X or not? And there's definitely those opportunities.
It looks like PulseChain could be one of them, right?
Yeah. I definitely like to compare it to I'm old enough to like remember using AOL and Yahoo being the king, of search engines. Or like even Ask Jeeves if you want to like go too far
Ask
back.
Jeeves. I remember Ask Jeeves.
Yeah. So like I remember all those, and they're not the top anymore at all. So it kind of reminds me, like Bitcoin and Ethereum remind me of like the AOL and the Yahoo. And so we're gonna have a Google. We're gonna have providers like Comcast and wherever you have, wherever you are, internet providers. So there's definitely some good chances.
Well, we're not far away, are we? By the looks of it, actually, what are your thoughts? When do you think like mainnet PulseChain might go live?
I've been wrong this whole time. I was a big proponent of before the end of the year. And obviously now, the earliest I think we could have it would be March, right? Like early March, or like I guess it could go live right at the end of the PulseX sacrifice phase. But honestly, at this point, I'm being more conservative about it, like March to June. I almost feel good about that, because if it took a year from the time that we sacrificed, or about, like, everything good takes time, and so I also think it might be good if we're really in a bear market, and we're, you could argue that we're already 6 months into a bear market if you really want to, or we're a couple months into it, whatever. To me, it wouldn't be a bad thing at all to be closer to the bottom of a bear market when we launch.
Mm.
So if
Good for the chart.
yeah, good. Well, good for the everything, right? Like, because everybody's going to be freaking out looking for opportunities in a bear market, and we know Hex was born in a bear. Well, you could argue it was done right at the beginning of the bull, but anyways, it was down there towards the bottom, where kind of what I'm talking about here. I've always said that from actually the very beginning. If we absolutely knew when the bottom was going to be, I'd actually say wait for closer to that date to launch, because I do think it would be better for price action longer, in that short term. But and then hopefully we're catching all the benefits of the bull market as we go up. But no, I mean, March obviously is going to be the earliest. I'd love to see. I'd love to see it in March. I'm actually, honestly, I've had a hard time like, I don't know why, but last couple of weeks I've honestly felt kind of burnt out from content.
Yeah, it can happen, right?
Yeah, and it's just because you feel like you just honestly, like, I remember there was a point, because obviously we've been watching PulseChain stuff since July. Right. Or before the launch. So, and I remember getting to a point where, like, I could no longer go in, like, I really didn't want to go into the Telegram chat anymore, because it was just the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so for me, it's been a nice, I've taken a little bit of a break to focus on my day job at the IT company. But we're kind of, I mean, we joked around before we came on, but it was like, if we're holding Hex, we sacrifice for Pulse, and we sacrifice for PulseX. It's not a whole lot for us Hexicans and Pulsicans to do, which is a great thing, actually, because then we can focus on the other things in life while we're waiting for our seeds to grow,
Yeah, I agree. It's not healthy to be 110% on something all the time. You need to have a balance, because if you keep, you're learning and you're watching stuff, but gets to a point where you're like, okay, I need to maybe step away, go for a walk with the kids, go play some sports, just get out. You know what I mean? Stop looking at the Staker app and the charts and stuff. So I feel you on that one for sure. What's your immediate plan? I mean, obviously it's all subject to change, but when mainnet goes live, apart from checking your balance, have you got any play or anything that you're going to do?
I keep going back and forth a little bit. I have, like, my long-term plan as far as, like, how long I plan on holding before selling, which, I have no intent. I really want to hold. I don't want to sell any. For PulseChain, I don't really want to sell any of it. I'd love if I could only sell the earnings from fees from delegating. But I have seen a lot. So this is one thing I'll say. I've seen a lot of people coming to me, asking me for advice, telling me what they're going to do. I'm hearing Richard say it. I'm hearing a lot of people say that they're going to go. They missed the PulseChain, and they're in the Pulse. They got a ton into PulseX, and we can even see that with how much more was sacrificed so far for PulseX, which to me is kind of crazy. Like, I know a lot of people are super bullish on PulseX, and I get it. I'm bullish on it too. But to me, the underlying chain, PulseChain, is the most important thing to me. And without that, there is no PulseX. So
that's the railway tracks.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so a lot of people have gone into PulseX with the thought that they're going to shift half their bag to PulseChain. So the opportunity I may look for is to go the opposite way that everybody else does, with a little bit, like with a tiny bit, less than 10% of my bag, 5% maybe, just because if I can get a 10-to-1 or better on one way or the other, I'd probably take it.
So you trade from Pulse for PulseX?
Temporarily, and I know we're not supposed to be traders, but I have a hard time putting that down. But again, it's really about the ratios.
Sure.
And again, ultimately, I really don't think I'm going to do anything. I think I'm going to look at it. It's going to be going crazy, and I'm going to say it's too risky, because I don't want to lose. I got a nice bag on both sides. I don't really have to. I think that's the biggest point. And I got a lot of friends asking me, like, well, hey, I missed PulseChain. And I'm telling them, like, have some liquid ready, because I think I think certain people are going to get burnt trying to go from PulseX to PulseChain if they do it before the bridge. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be whales way bigger than me or any, that are probably looking to take advantage of whatever opportunity they can too. So I don't know that it'll get too out of whack, but I do think, to me, the easiest thing to do is just hold through it all. And again, I've gotten in all of it, so I don't really have to. I don't have to make a play.
Sure.
But for people that need to or feel like they want to, I would probably honestly be prepared to just dollar cost average into PulseChain over the first 90 days of the launch or something like that. If I'd missed PulseChain, if you can get 1-to-1 PulseX PulseChain, then probably take it, I guess. But I'd be very surprised with how many people I've heard talking about, like, because I pay attention to Telegram chats. I'm paying attention to all the stuff still. And it's just a lot of people are planning on going that way. So I would, I'd caution anybody from making too many moves in the very beginning, especially before the bridge is up and stuff. So
yeah, I think it's going to be volatile. I mean, it's kind of nice not to gloat, obviously, but if you've sacrificed for both, you're kind of sitting pretty. Obviously, a lot of people feel like they're behind, right? They're behind the 8 ball. So they're like, okay, I've got to try and maybe get this and swap this. But before the bridge, who knows? You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. But again, it's all speculation, so we don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of people's plans are going to be sit on your hands, sit on my hands, and just see how it plays out and let the chips fall where they may, and then start to make some moves if you want to.
Yeah, I really don't want to. I really want to wait like 3 years. That's really my goal, 2025, before because I don't want to be the guy that sold on the 10x or the 50x or the 100x even, and missed out on the 10,000 or the 5,000, anything like that. So, for me, like I said, I hope that delegation's good enough for me with PulseChain. I was really hoping to hear something about single-sided staking pools with PulseX, but I haven't really heard anything about that yet. Nobody seems to think that that's going to happen.
I don't think there is. I thought because I thought it was a fork of PancakeSwap at first, and you can stake the cake token on BSC. So I was thinking it was going to be similar to that, which has good APY, like 100%. I mean, I was doing a bit of degen staking before I got into Hex and PulseChain and stuff on BSC. So yeah, I mean, I was like, wow, it's going to be great. It's going to be like sticking some PulseX in there and getting 105% or something, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I'm not sure. Maybe something might come up.
Yeah, I was hoping that something would happen with that. That was my thought too, but I don't know where. Again, it's honestly a little bit above my head when you start talking about, especially since we have a secondary reward token outside of PulseX. Again, you can provide liquidity too, which would probably be a cool idea on a certain amount of your bag, or whatever, a certain small percentage of your bag. But for me, like I said, I mean, we're talking, if we can get 1,000 to 10,000x gains, like, I got friends that put a couple thousand in that think they didn't get enough in, and I'm just trying to tell them, like, guys, like, greed's the worst thing ever. Be careful, because I think you'll be fine if you just hold on to over 3 to 5 years. Like, you're gonna see insane returns you never imagined. So.
Well, a lot of the people that have sacrificed as well. I mean, we know this anyway. We're preaching to the converted, but they're hexagons, they're pulsicons, right? They know what's possible, so they're not going to be flipping after a 2x or a 3x. There will be degens and stuff in there who will be, but people who have been around for a bit longer than 6 months, at least a year, they'll know, hopefully, that the play is delayed gratification, as RH always says.
Yeah, when you see things like how much hex has been sacrificed on both sides, which I believe was like 75% of the sacrifice set, or something like that. I'm guessing right now, but I know it's high. I mean, we know hexagons are trained to hold, which is good. I mean, that's not a bad thing at all. And so you got that, and then you got people like the ETH Genesis whale sacrificing ETH instead of hex, which we all know he has plenty of hex to sacrifice if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But to me, that means that he finds more value in his hex than he does his ETH.
Yeah.
And which is probably smart.
And follow the smart money in crypto, right?
Right. And I think when you have probably as much liquidity or money, he probably has plenty of money all around in his life that he doesn't need to be worried about trying to get the most value out of his hex or something like that, extract value from hex. I know that was what I've heard people talk about too. Oh, well, a lot of people couldn't have got that liquidity out of their hex anyway, so they just sacrificed it. Well, that's fine, but I'll bet you if they had as much ETH as the Genesis whale did, they might have also sacrificed ETH because, talk about diminishing returns is a real thing. And there's just no doubt that after 5 to 10 years of a product or of something being out, you're going to start to see that. So
of course, he's seeing ahead. He's looking ahead, isn't he?
Correct. And I'm not exactly sure, but I know at one point I thought I'd put the ETH Genesis Whales wallet into my staker app to see like what his stakes were and stuff like that. And I could be wrong. I'm going to throw I hate being wrong, but I'm going to throw a number out there. I could have swore at the top it was something like $9 billion worth of tax or something stupid like that. It was something crazy. I remember seeing it and being like, and then again, like I said, this guy is not sacrificing hex. He's sacrificing ETH.
Yeah.
So
changing of the card.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in it that I don't even think are admitting it yet. Like I'm not going to say his name, but we know that, well, we heard BitBoy say that they sacrificed, they got some pulse.
Yeah.
I bet you there's so many more that have not come out to talk about it yet. Just because that's just how the Furus do, right? They got to make sure it's looks good before they say anything. And obviously they got to be able to make money
they got to dump on their followers' heads.
Yeah, right? Jump on their followers' heads. Yeah, and it's sad. I think, and I love seeing I love seeing Richard on Kevin something, the pink-haired dude.
Ask Kevin or something like that.
Yes, yeah, and that's really popular. I got friends that are like not so much on the crypto side, but are big on the real estate and
he's massive. He's got like 1 million or more, I think. Yeah,
I didn't realize. I'd never heard of him before because I'm in such a Richard Hart tunnel that I don't even listen to them hardly anymore. But getting to see that happening, like we're getting out there, and I really do think that these everyone I talk to and I bring into this, and I've brought probably somewhere between 50 to 100 people into Pulse and PulseX. Awesome. What's that? Yeah. It's awesome, I brought in a lot of people from all different areas of finance or not or whatever. And once they start watching Richard Hart, they completely agree. And then all of a sudden the FOMO kicks in and they're like, oh, I should have put more in. But it's because of what he says is true. He talks, he really pokes those holes in the gambling side of trading and why it's not good. And, because ultimately the people that are, like we said earlier, the people that win are the centralized exchanges.
Yeah. 100%. When you hear him talk about trading, and especially, me and you, we're guilty of going on to Bybit or something like that and probably doing 10x leverage or whatever. And not only, yes, it can be profitable. Most often it's not. So you're one of the rare ones that got out with some money, which is good. But it's stressful, man. You can't enjoy yourself. If you're on leverage and a small movement, you can be liquidated really fast. So that's not fun at all. So it's good that, the more people that are finding out and listening to his streams and coming into the PulseChain, the Hex ecosystem, they're delaying gratification, they're locking up their money and staking for their future self.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it, man.
I was just saying, I was successful trading, I believe, only because I was getting in at 10 to 20K Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I pulled and I just remembered all that money I watched disappear in 2018.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm not gonna let that happen. So I had the discipline to take those profits when everybody was telling me I was kind of stupid. So it's kind of like they couldn't believe I did it. And even I was saying that. Honestly, even I was like, man, I'm probably gonna miss out on these gains, right? But I was just like, I'm not gonna let this happen again.
Sure.
And then
you learn from your mistakes.
But I will say I've tried leverage trading. And I like to say I was successful, but I was not. I always ended up losing my leverage bag. Even if I 10x'd it, I would always end up losing it all basically.
It's gambling.
And I never won leverage. I won individual trades, but I always ended up losing that account. Like, and I didn't put a lot in to begin with because I was just, again, I knew. Again, this is before I really understood Richard Hart. I quickly got away from it all. I was even doing what's called, like, I was running bots, so like grid bots. And it's almost like liquidity providing, actually, which I didn't realize this, but like grid bots, basically what it does is you can just set the different parameters on like the range and then how small you want your trades to be. So, and then it just basically every time it moves up and down in that side of that range, it buys and sells and buys and sells and buys and sells. But it's basically providing liquidity in a way, like you earn if as long as it stays in that range and comes back down. So I actually did really good with that too. But like you said, I was waking up, I was having a hard time sleeping. I was waking up in the middle of the night and checking my app for prices, like it matters.
It's not healthy.
No, it's not, man.
Staking and locking stuff up,
I love it.
is much better for you. But bringing it back to PulseChain, because you had some interesting price predictions, and let's be honest, everyone loves a price prediction. We know it's not financial advice. We know it's pure speculation. But what are your short-term and long-term price predictions? Has anything changed since last time we spoke, or?
Not really, man. I really do think in the first year we see a penny. I know that's pretty high. You know, that's well over 100x for some people's average SAC price. But I think that's really possible. I think that's almost might even be considered conservative in some people's eyes. I know people joked around with me about that's FUD. Like, that's still pretty. I mean, you give me 100x, I'm going to be a pretty happy fella. Not that I'm getting out, but I'm going to be happy for sure. And then, so yeah, a penny, and then, yeah, within a year, I think about a penny. I guess it could even happen quicker than that. You know, I'm really interested to see what the launch price is going to be. Like, you know, I think I had said like if you just took the market cap of ETH at the price of ETH and you compared it based on the total supply of both the coins, that it was like a third of a penny that it could launch at the PulseChain, and that's pretty high. Like, but it's also right in line with what Hex did. And so, or what Hex launched at, again, not the same coin or anything. I know that, but it's still, someone set that price on Hex when it first happened. I don't know how it was set, but again, that's how PulseChain is going to be too. The first liquidity providers and the first traders are going to set that price and pay for it. I would fully expect a dip if it launched anything above a 10x. So anything above a tenth of a penny, I would expect some sort of dip. Like you said, you're going to have people dumping, pulling profits, whatever, trying to manipulate the market on low liquidity, whatever the case may be. So if it launches kind of high, I expect a dip and then a pretty quick recovery and off to the races. If we launch low, then it probably just a straight up, you know, gradual up, whatever. But a penny in the first year, I think, is a pretty standard goal. 10 cents probably end of year 2, and then 3 to 5 years out, we're probably going to hit that dollar mark, which I know is probably unfathomable for some people. But I think we're going to watch Hex, PulseChain, and possibly PulseX really help people understand why market cap isn't a good metric in crypto. It's more going to be locked in value on the chain. There's going to liquidity is a good metric. Users is a good metric. Active users.
Adoption. I mean, I think I've said this from the beginning, and the more I look into it, I really think PulseChain is going to be a game changer. You know, it really is going to be a game changer. Like, people are going to not think that, because there's still that narrative, isn't there? Like, oh, $1 billion, Bitcoin's got $1 trillion market cap. You know, there's $1 trillion of liquidity sitting there and stuff like that. And it's like, no. So I understand what you mean. Like, it's unfathomable because, of course, if Pulse hit $1, there'd be people with hundreds of millions, billions, or whatever. But of course, no one can. If everyone does a sell together, it's not going to work. So, you know, it's not about, it's about changing people's mentality on it and thinking that, you know, it has to have this liquidity behind it to actually be legit, because Bitcoin doesn't have $1 trillion sitting there. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, the market cap would be pretty insane. Again, I'm complete believer and understander of market cap not being a great metric.
Mm.
But until the whole paradigm shift happens with the majority of the rest of the community, it's still something that is there. So it's not, you can't completely ignore it. But we can continue to educate people on why it's not a great metric to judge crypto on. It also, like you said, it doesn't, liquidity is probably one of the most important metrics that you could have out there for it, for crypto. And it really shows you how much you can get in and how much you can get out and all that stuff with that, and how much the price would move appropriately. So, and there's a lot of other things that are yet to be seen too, for those people that do like the market cap mantra, well, are you going to take 90% of the supply out for PulseChain? I mean, I'd honestly like to see that happen on the metric sites, because then, for what it's worth, for those people that do think that that's a problem, it won't be. And then, of course, I love the fact that PulseChain is just going to have a low price overall, like in compared to an Ethereum or a Bitcoin. Like, people love low price coins. They like to have 1 million of them. They like to have 100,000 of them.
Yeah, number bias, yeah.
Correct. They feel like they got some. Whereas I mean, I still have people come to me like, well, I can't afford a Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, well, you don't have to buy a whole one.
Yeah.
Like, I believe they should start talking in Satoshis for Bitcoin as well, if we're going to go there.
Sure.
It's kind of like how T-shares will be a thing of the past for Hex. So very, very soon, most people won't be able to afford a T-share. They'll be buying B shares.
B shares, yeah.
Yeah, and
you got to move with the times. I mean, I helped an ex-girlfriend get into Hex, and she had a bit of Bitcoin and she sold it, and even she was like, "Oh, it feels so much better. I've got this much 1,000 Hex compared to that 0.0 whatever I had, one or whatever Bitcoin." So yeah, I think that number bias helps a lot, especially with newbies coming in, because they want to see, I've got 1,000 or 100 or even 1 million, of these coins, and I think it helps with adoption for sure. Another thing I want to ask you about is some of the community members, I'm not sure if you've seen it, have come up with some strategies on how they're going to use Pulse, especially with the liquid loans protocol. I'm not sure if you've seen some of that, the haunted strategy and a few others.
I was looking through the infograms, the pictures. There was like 5 or 6 of them that you guys have kind of drawn out at this point.
Yeah. I was wondering what your take on that. Have you seen that? What do you think about those kind of things?
I have seen them, and I don't know how I feel completely about it. I like them. I like them all, and I think at a conservative level of investment, or like you said, a high collateralization, that any of it's probably pretty safe. I personally have a little bit different goals. Like, I personally don't like the thought of taking a loan against something and then putting the money back into the same product, like the same thing. So for me, it's always been, if I was going to if I do, which I probably will, I do see the benefit of collateralizing your Pulse if you need to take some money out.
Sure.
And I would probably actually do it for other assets, such as, like, I've always wanted to own commercial property, like storage units and lots and stuff like that. So if there's an opportunity for me to, and I'd probably do it on a dip or something like that, so that there was even a less chance of being liquidated, because that's really, I don't ever want to be liquidated. But I really, really love the, like, zero interest, zero repayment terms, like stuff like that, in a world where you do collateralize and you do finance against your assets to expand your portfolio. Like, I love those pieces of it. And so for me, it's always kind of been like, well, I've always wanted to get into real estate. So if I was going to borrow against it, I could buy the real estate. And if something did happen and I did get liquidated, I could always borrow against that asset to buy back my Pulse. Because there's a lot of talk about how if you borrowed against it, you have your USDL and that's great if you did it in such a way that you held on to that and you can pull it out and get back into Pulse if you do get liquidated. But that would be my biggest concern, was just making sure that the money's in another asset,
sure,
that's earning me more money, and that if I ever had to, I could collateralize against it and get my Pulse back.
Sure,
if we had a big dip. So that's but I looked at, there's all kinds of them now, right? Like, they got the one that's going to buy hex and stake it. You got the, and again, most people at this point are talking really high collateral, 1,000% plus collateralization, which is something that's where I would want to be too, 1,000 to 2,000%, honestly.
Sure.
So, but again, that's like, let's say, because I do think Pulse, assuming it takes off, we'll have much more liquidity pairings outside of USDC. Like, we all love our hex and how it's pegged to USDC, and there's not normally as much of a dip when the rest of the market dips, and it's kind of not pegged to the rest of the market. I do think PulseChain, unless something crazy happens, will be more susceptible to the dips and the flows of the whole overall crypto market. And we kind of actually I would think, want that a little bit, because we want to see the adoption blow out like that.
Sure.
But so my thought is, you see a 70% dip and then you go 1,000% collateralized, you're well into an area of probably not having to worry, because
1,000%. I think the market has to dip by about 90% for you to be up for liquidation.
Yeah, I think 85 if the system's what do they call it, the 150%. But again, you still only get liquidated for your 110, which I thought was cool too.
But you can never be only vaults under so for example, I think you're talking about the recovery mode.
Recovery mode, yeah.
That's when the system as a total, the total TCR, the total collateral ratio, drops below 150%. But even if that happens, if you're over 150%, you never get liquidated.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. So like we advise, and we want everyone to hold on to their pulse. So just be safe, And also, how often does the market dump 80 to 90% in one day?
No, not very often. And like you said, if you're smart about it, you're probably not doing your entire bag, which, and you're doing portions of it, or maybe you're even doing portions that were already profit from something else, right? Like, you started earning fees from delegating, so now you're going to use that fee money to start and I'm a big numbers guy, and so I loved seeing that spreadsheet. I really did. Haunted spreadsheet, and it was like, and it did. And I got friends that come to me and ask me for advice on that, and they're going to do that. They're going to do the haunted strategy, and I'm all like, hey, all for it, man. Like, do your thing. As long, to me, as long as you understand the risk of what you're doing, you're way outside the normal parameters. You're not giving yourself a 200% or something like that, where if it drops 50%, and again, like you said, like, it's really, I think it's stupid to go out and like collateralize and then go buy a Lamborghini or something stupid. Like, you should probably buy another asset that supports that thing that you want. So that's just my opinion. I mean, I know a lot of people may or may not agree, but I do intend to use liquid loans in some form or fashion at some point, rather than just sell my pulse. I will do that.
You'd rather hold on to it. I mean, it sounds,
yes.
I mean, from what you're saying, and I get this from hearing you before and talk. You're not going to take it and buy a Lambo and go to Vegas and blow it on strippers, right? You're gonna take it and you're going to put it in real estate, or maybe in a stability pool or hex, and then and also, well, I mean, not financial advice again, but there's two things you could do here: be very safely over collateralized 1,000% or more, and putting that money to work for you, right? So you're covering yourself both ends. But I don't, people are going to be people. People need to take responsibility, and some people will do that, and that's fine. We're all adults here. We have to take responsibility for our own lives. But over collateralizing and then putting that money to work for you is going to be, if you've got a long-term mindset, that's going to be the best thing for you.
The other thing I really like about liquid loans is just the fact that it's made by hexagons, for the community. I think it creates a certain amount of competition that might not have been there otherwise. In this, because it's going to come, like, these protocols are coming, and not just liquid loans, there'll be other ones. And now liquid loans has kind of set that bar like way up here for any of those protocols to come in and try to compete. Like, they have, like, most of them, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think other ones are doing 0% and no repayment terms. I've looked in collateralizing my Bitcoin before, and it's nothing like that. Like, I didn't do it because I was so worried that I was going to basically lose my crypto.
And then still have to pay back, right?
Right. And so it was like, to me, there wasn't, it's almost like it was going to happen anyways. So why not have somebody that cares about the community, such as Hexicans, and then also create that competition in the market, so that if anybody else came in, they would have to come in with a product that was really well vetted as well. And I love that, it's my understanding there won't be admin keys and stuff like that as well.
No, it's a fork of Liquidity from Ethereum, which is working fine. It's been forked onto other chains. There's no reason why it's not going to work on PulseChain. No admin keys, immutable, algorithmic stablecoin. It really is true DeFi, where you hear a lot of protocols say they're DeFi, and then you see them, they switch on and off and all that stuff. So, yeah, it is exciting, and I think PulseChain is really going to set the bar high, like you said, for other protocols to come on there. So it will be really interesting to see how 22 plays out, because obviously we need PulseChain first before anything. And actually, yeah, let's say we're sitting here 12 months from now having another conversation. What do you think the lay of the land looks like now in 12 months' time?
I think it looks amazing. I'm trying to figure out why I'm staying at my job still, probably. No, I'm just kidding. And again, I work for that IT company mainly because I have ownership in it, and I love the industry. But
you want to go full time?
Yeah. I mean, there's other things I want to do. I want to give back a lot. There's like the gym I owns with a partner of mine. Like, it's really more of a ministry for us. So I'm big into ministry and stuff like that. And so I really want to give back and help other people kind of see their dreams with their ministries and stuff like that. Amazing. As well. Yeah. So I love Crypto Heartbeat because of that. I can see that side of them. You're always talking about trying to give back to people and help people and give back to the community. And that's really, to me, what it's all about, whether it's crypto that helps me get there or not. That's always kind of my goal. I did see a couple comments about kind of like, why not PulseX? Like, why am I not like...
Yeah. You're in a flow, so I didn't want to stop you, but let's pull that up and then let's hear you talk about that.
So let me, for the record, I'm super bullish on PulseX. I just don't... How do I say this? Ethereum from low to high did a 16,000x or something like that. None of the other like similar tokens to PulseX, which again, we know that there's superior game theory on PulseX 100%. And I'm not ignorant to that. I just don't, for me, the underlying chain, I mean, PulseChain, regardless of whether or not we want to say it or not, to me is an Ethereum killer. I don't care. And I think it's superior to anything that's on the market. You got Solana that's gone down. I've been down the last 3 days. It's dropping like a rock. Things are falling apart on the chain, like the chain level. I've heard some horrible stuff about Binance Smart Chain as well, as far as like just, who's controlling it, some other things like that I've read. Again, I'm just doing my research, but I think for me, PulseChain, and I hate to say this, but I think PulseX is getting so much hype because so many people miss PulseChain. And I get that there's the burn factor, there's the buyback and burn, even though we can't be sure that we know what they're going to do with that buyback because we can't do it without admin keys. And the governance token is super important. I definitely think that we could see 100 to 1,000x gains. And who knows, 10,000x long term if PulseChain takes off. But so like my thought is that PulseX needs PulseChain, but PulseChain doesn't need PulseX to be successful. So
exactly,
PulseChain has to have the network effect, has to blow up, and same as PulseX. Now, I do get like supply will be different, and we don't know if OA is going to sacrifice yet. So there's still some game theory that we don't know yet. So I think there's some of that could be said about it. Again, I got both, and I actually do have a bigger bag of ended up with a bigger bag of PulseX than I did PulseChain. So like I would love it either way.
You put your money where your mouth is, right? Anyway.
Yeah. So I'm there. Like I'm on the game board, and we're playing. and I'd love to see it do just as well, or if not better. But to me, I love the buy and burn. I love that factor. And I will say this about PulseChain. So I do think there's a possibility that PulseX goes up higher first, even though I think a lot of people are like, so it's this weird thing. Like there's this chance that everybody tries to like a small exodus of people go from PulseX to PulseChain because they miss PulseChain. So there's that very beginning, before the bridge opens, possibility of some weird stuff playing out. But to be fair, there are a lot of people that are getting free Pulse with PulseChain because of the AMM bot going through and taking the liquidity out from everybody and giving them the Pulse that's associated with that. And so that's probably my only and again, people are probably going to say FUD or whatever, but like that's my only thought about concern in the beginning of PulseChain is just that there are a certain amount of people that are getting free Pulse, like 2 point. I think Richard said in the recent stream, it was like 2.something%, 2.5, 2.225 or something like that. He said, now I've heard other people say like 3 to 6, which 6% of a supply being given away for free is a lot worse than 2.25 or 2.5. I also know that not all those people are going to be aware of it, that they even have it. So I'm not like super concerned, but we are like, if you're talking about very large liquidity providers on Ethereum, they're probably aware that they're going to get Pulse. I would think. I mean, those people aren't dumb. They're aware of other chains launching that could be threatening their liquidity. They definitely are going to be paying attention to something where they're getting a copy or free airdrop.
Yeah.
So, those big players are going to have the Pulse, and they're not hexagons. We don't know what they're going to want to do with it. I would also think that like a substantial amount of PRC 20s and stuff like that are going to be in the hands of centralized exchanges. So there's a lot of stuff we can't know for sure. But I'm bullish on both. Like I think they're both going to take off immensely. I just think that long-term PulseChain is going to be it's the underlying EVM. So it's like it'd be the first time ever that the underlying chain didn't do better than
it would be like Uniswap outperforming ETH, wouldn't it, or something like that?
I mean, and Hex is the only example where you see something on a chain outperforming the chain it's on, and so Hex is the only one. And I think PulseX is superior to Hex? I don't know. That's a tough question.
We'll find out, but like you said, with PulseChain is the train tracks. Without PulseChain, we don't exist, right? So, but maybe long term, and this is just obviously speculation. Long term, I believe in Pulse more than that, but more than PulseX. But then short term, we don't know because people might be like, "Oh, that buy and burn function," and also remember, in life, whatever's like freshest in your mind is always the biggest hype. Like Pulse was now, and listen, remember the FOMO of Pulse sacrifice back in July? It was crazy. But now that's 8 months ago, right? 9 months ago now. That's fading into 2021, and now it's the new sacrifice, which is PulseX. So
and you got more people, right? And so another thing, and this is just a generality, but like what most people think is going to happen normally doesn't.
Yeah, true.
Period. In crypto, and in most things, financial, like what most people think are going to happen typically does not happen. But again, to think that PulseChain does a 200x and PulseX only does a 75x in the first year. Are we all going to be sad about that? No. I know I'm not going to be. I will be, or the opposite. Like I don't really. It doesn't hurt me either way. In fact, the opposite's better for me. So I'm actually going against what would be.
You're fighting your own bags,
pretty much. Like that's exactly right. And so, and then again, just like anything, I want to be able to earn from it. So I am like slightly disappointed. I feel like I can't earn from my PulseX, like earn fees or earn a reward token without providing liquidity, which I may do. on a small scale again. And again, I know most people are going to say, oh, well, you just got to hold it and it's great. That's cool. But like, I really like the thought that I'm going to get to delegate my PulseChain and make a certain percentage every year I could technically never sell my original bags ever.
Yep. I mean, yeah, of course, delegating is an option, and then using liquid loans as an option. Yeah, there's so many ways, so many long-term plays as well, apart from the short term. So here's another question, and we've kind of touched on it, but I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. In your opinion, what does better in the short term and the long term? PulseX, or Hex?
I think it's PulseChain, PulseX, and then Hex over the next year. And I only say that because I really like Hex a lot. But I just, I question if we're going to start hitting diminishing returns at some point. And I mean, it's hard to keep up with a 10,000x. And so we're going to say what, in the next 2 years, we're going to have gone a 10 million X. And that's basically what we're saying. If we're going to say that it's going to go another 10,000x in 2 years, that we did it, or no, I think that might be 100 million. Yeah, 100 million. So can it happen?
You mean 100 million%?
I'm saying 10,000x times 10,000x. Like if we're saying, if we're expecting Hex to do as well as it did over the last 2 years, in the first 2 years, like, so to me that like PulseChain and PulseX would be almost a failure if it didn't outperform Hex in the next year or two. Now, long term, I don't know, but I definitely have seen a lot of people say it in that order. So most people think PulseX is going to do better than PulseChain from what I can see. And then a lot of people are still super bullish on Hex, which I am too. But I just think in the short term, in the next year, I expect PulseChain to do the best, PulseX, and then probably Hex. And again, they're all probably going to do better than a 20x or 10 or 20x in my eyes over the next year. Like I still think, I'm holding my breath for probably like a $3 Hex at the end of the 2020. That would probably be pretty decent. And then, like I said, I mean, that'd be awesome for my bag. So, and then
we haven't even talked about the system state copy, right? We forgot about that. Full system copy.
Yeah. There's a whole it's crazy what he's doing. And then also, like you said, we might hit like the perfect timing of like markets too. Like we may hit we may launch very close to a bottom of a bear market and the start of the new bull. And so to me, it's like I don't know that there is a better time to launch a product than at the bottom of the bear market. Like that would be absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah. I think.
And then of course we want things like, as much as we hate centralized exchanges, we want Coinbase to list PulseChain and PulseX. For sure. We want it there. So anyways.
Well, I mean, I think whatever happens in 2022, just hold on to your hats because it's going to be exciting, right?
And try not to sell. Yeah.
I mean, try to hold on for more than a 10x because it could get very, very exciting. So we know that we've seen 10,000x in Hex. We've got obviously PulseChain coming, PulseX. We've got this incentive token. We've got liquid loans. We've got the sacrifice for liquid loans coming up soon. So there's all different types of stuff going to happen in 2022. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I think it really is like the year of virality for Richard Hart and Hex and PulseChain and PulseX. I think in my eyes, and I'm trying not to get like too built up about it, but I think it's the next big thing in crypto. I think we're being gate kept still a lot, and that nobody will be able to continue to do that once the network's thriving and running and kicking butt. And we have all these new projects coming over. And, again, I know Richard's not a big fan of the word metaverse, and I'm not. I mean, I've been playing, MMOs since I was like 13 and, and I get what he's saying, but it's still important to a lot of people. Like a lot of these young
we need
people.
Adoption. We don't understand.
Yeah, you need adoption. You need all the coins. You need all the games. You need all the protocols. You need all that stuff. And ideally you need them the big players currently in the game to come over and say, no, we're over here now, or at least we're over here as well.
For sure. Yeah. We want big protocols. I don't like it when I go on Twitter and I see, some of the negative stuff that I think in the Hex and Pulse community, where they're screaming everything else is a scam that's not a Richard Hart project and NFTs are trash. Listen, I don't think NFTs are very good, but I want people to come over. I want adoption to the PulseChain. It's going to be not good for PulseChain if it's just a load of hexagons on there. We need.
I'll say this: I have real world experience of. I was big into mobile gaming for quite a few years, even in the beginning of crypto. When my crypto career experience, I've literally sold like in-game mobile game items to people in excess of like $1,800 before.
Dude.
And that was a completely trust transaction because the guy had to send me money and then I had to give the item to him. There was no way for us to mediate that exchange. And so I know that exists. I know gaming, we all know gaming's like huge. And so now it doesn't make sense to spend $100, $200 on the ETH chain to make this item or change it. So when you got these really cheap transactions on PulseChain, or any chain for that matter, but I think PulseChain, because it is a fork of Ethereum, it's that easy to just bring it all over or just encapsulate it on that side, right? Like encapsulate all your freaking Ethereum items or whatever into PulseChain and trade them on that side, because that makes the most sense. At least transactions are going to be, like most people say, like almost literally free in the beginning.
Pennies. I mean, like, I'm not like I'm a big fan of BSC, but when I do use it sometimes to send some BUSD around to do stuff, it's PulseChain is going to be a lot better, but it's still nice to see cheap transactions, and see that it's possible you can get a fast, cheap transaction. So forget about $30 to send an ERC20 and $500 to mint something on OpenSea or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking nothing pretty much. And then and then of course there's the old question of like, what happens when PulseChain fills up? But I loved what Richard Hart said about, we'll just make another gas station. What do you do? What do you do when the one gas station fills up? You open another one across the street. Yeah. So like the cool thing about all this is like, this isn't even the end. This is like, it's actually kind of I think the beginning of like Richard Hart really putting his foot out there as the best in crypto, and proving that to people. And then like, man, you got the Hex army now. You're going to have a PulseChain army, a PulseX army. You're going to have these just like, and I struggle to find somebody who's not a good person in these communities. Like, you don't see it very often. We're all looking to help each other and help the people around us. And
well, touching on what you were talking about earlier about Crypto Heartbeat and you, which is giving back to the community and giving back to other people. Let's be honest. How often in crypto do you hear that? Most of the time it's like Lambo, when Moon, when can I move to the Cayman Islands with models on boats and yachts and stuff? And listen, that's all fun. And as a 21-year-old, who isn't going to want to do that? But as you start to grow and evolve spiritually and mentally, you start to say, hang on, it's not all about me. There's other people in the world that need stuff, right? And the hexagons, and like you said, you want to do stuff for the community, for people who are less fortunate than you. Crypto Heartbeat has a big movement on that. I mean, you're right. What you say, it's hard to find bad people. A lot of people here are not here. They've kind of they've ascended past that kind of take, and that's it. They want to give back, which is very, very nice to see in crypto, especially.
Yeah, I agree. And I've watched a lot of people, and I've talked to people that have become very wealthy. And if you're not careful, you can't, like, it's what Maddie Allen talks about. Maddie Allen talks a lot about sudden wealth syndrome, stuff like that. And it's true. Like, you spend your whole life chasing money or whatever, and money is your idol, or whatever, and you don't have a goal beyond that, which is typically going to be give back, or build something great, or build or produce a product or whatever.
Give value back to the universe.
Yeah, giving back to the world. Yeah, the universe, exactly. And so once you kind of get, like, because I quit my job for about a year, And that was when I did all the focusing on crypto, and I was like, I'm going to trade and I'm going to do this stuff. And it all worked out great. I mean, I don't think I would have gotten as big into Hex. I don't think I would have paid attention to PulseChain had I been working full time. So I'm very thankful that I took that time off. But ultimately what I found was like I was going out to lunches with people that not most people my age are not retired. Most of my friends work. And then what I found was like, there is a sense of me that like needs to work, like needs to do something productive. Whether, whether it was me going back to this IT company, whether it was me having enough money to go start some sort of giving back thing that I want to do. Right now it made sense for that, but it's more than just, like, oh, I just need to make all this money so I can sit on the beach and drive my Lambo and drink my whatever,
That would get old really quickly.
Yeah, it will. And some people might love it and that's all cool for them. Like but I don't, like, I've lived near the beach most of my life and I don't go. So like the beach isn't my thing, you know what I mean? So, obviously, you can see.
Well, come on, that tan. I was going to ask you about that. You must be out 24/7 in the sun.
That's just the ring light tan that you get when you YouTube too much. No, I'm just no.
But yeah, I know what you mean, man. As humans, we need, and this is from my own personal experience, but the older I get, and I'm quite interested in psychology. Humans need things to aim for, and whether that's I need to lose a few pounds, or I need to meet more people, or I need to get move up the ladder at work. We need goals, in life. And of course, it's so counterintuitive because you think when I become a millionaire or when I get all this stuff, all I'm going to do is lie in every day, eat whatever food I want, just hang out with my friends. But let's be honest, there's loads of people who can do that and they're utterly depressed, right? So life is weird. You don't want to be so poor that, all you got to do is eat rice and beans. That's not fun for anyone. But then if you're here where you have more money than the rest of the world and you can't, you're so cut off from society that you're just like, this is just, you see these billionaires all the time, right? Who maybe reach the top of the mountain and they feel utterly depressed because they haven't got any goals anymore. So I think it really is, and don't get me wrong, everyone watching this stream and me and you, we want financial freedom. We don't have to worry about money again at all. That's not what I'm saying here. But you do need to have purpose. Once you never reach the finish line in life. I think you get somewhere and then you set a good goal. You get somewhere and you set a good goal.
Yeah, and something I found was that like when I took that time off that year, it was strange. Like people didn't understand it. And it was kind of like,
year off? Did you changing jobs or?
No, I left the IT company because I was actually going to pursue like a mobile app development thing I was doing. And I did. I worked on that project for a little while. And it was really hard to bring the product to market. And so I had something I was working on, but I wasn't working like a ton of time, like maybe 10 hours a week, maybe a full week if I really had a lot to do, like build sales videos or something. But I kind of just decided to take the time off because I had the money and we had like the opportunity. And then honestly, with going so hard on PulseChain and PulseX and all these stuff, like I decided that like I wanted to go really hard on it. So I did. And for me, it was like, well, why don't you just go back to the IT company and help out there where they need you. And so, but it was like, and I went back with like this almost like just completely different mentality. Like before I was like, felt trapped and I felt like I was stuck there. And then when I realized I could leave but then like, I don't know how to explain it. It is kind of hard. It's kind of like you said, it's like, all my friends, like a lot of my friends I had brought into that company and built up there. I loved all the guys that were there. So it was like, it was cool, but I was just like hanging out in my office by myself, working with my business partner in the UK occasionally, but like not really a lot of like, again, so interaction that I was having. The people I was going to lunch with on a daily basis were like retired. And again, nothing wrong with retired older men. That's fine. But but they're like, it's just different. Like I was 20, 30 years younger than them in some cases. And again, it was great having those times and getting to minister to people and do different things and we'll be more active in the different ministries I was a part of. giving back to people with addiction issues, and because I've dealt with that in my life. March 23rd, 2013 is the last time I drank. And
wow.
So yeah,
Congrats.
for me, and again, I wasn't like some failure over it, but when I drank, I didn't stop, and it did it. And I mean, as soon as I stopped that, my whole life changed. I mean, as soon as my life stopped revolving around that bad habit, and again, for me, it was a bad habit. I don't say that for everybody, but for me, it was. And I mean, right after that, I got married, started having my kids. Like, it's almost like I finally grew up when I stopped partying and doing that stuff. For lack of a better way to put it. Not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants kids. Not everybody wants, some people want to party all their life, and I don't see anything wrong with that if you can manage that.
As long as you're not hurting anyone, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, for me, it was about trying to get back to those places, using my experience and my testimony to try to help others. And it's really like what I feel like my entire life is about. And that's why I felt like, yeah, let's go back to the IT company. And now that I'm back, I really found that I find a lot of value, and I put a lot of on helping others. And that's really what I do in my career. I'm really good at what I do, and so I'm able to help train and teach others and help them out and help them work through issues. And so I find a lot of value in trying to help others. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. If that was all I did the rest of my life, I think I would be fulfilled. So,
dude, that's awesome, man. Like I said, this community is different to other parts in crypto, and I think this is we've been going for an hour, so I think it's a good place to round it out. Unless you see any comments in there that you want to get to.
No, I mean, there's some pretty good questions, but I think for the most part, I feel like we covered most of it. Maybe it'd give us a reason to do another one at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Especially once PulseChain's launched, right? And we can see how things are going, see how our predictions are, if they're coming out to close to what we were talked about.
Yeah, for anybody that is I have not put out a video in almost 2 months. I do have intentions of building. I was actually going to be working on today. I'm working on a slideshow for PulseX. So I have not done one about PulseX yet. I was going to finally do a video about that. And I do have intentions of getting back on that horse and starting to ride it, because I really do love it. I just was like I said, I went back to work recently. There was a lot of change that happened at the end of the year. I had a family vacation, all these things. So, real life is.
Tell everyone, where can they find out more about you?
So if you just search Steve Hitson on YouTube, you'll find it. youtube.com/C/Steve Hitson, exactly how it's spelled. You can also find me on Twitter at Steve Hitson. I think that's really about it. I really stay on Twitter and YouTube. And like you said, I typically do presentation style videos where I'm trying to bring data and my analysis to the table. That's really what I find my niche to be. But I spend a lot of time onboarding people, like I said, and getting people into PulseX.
A lot, man. That's great. Good work.
Yeah, a lot of people, and then of course when they get into PulseX, next thing you know, they're watching Richard Hart and they're like, I should buy some hex on this dip, shouldn't I? Yeah, you should.
Nice. Well, listen, before we go, I'm just going to answer this question. When SAC? If we're talking about the liquid loan SAC, pretty soon, man. I'd say everyone get your stables ready. Could be any day now. So just stay prepared, stay on your toes. But yeah, just before we round out, definitely go and subscribe to Steve Hitson's YouTube channel. You can find him on Twitter too. And just going back to what he touched on, if anyone takes anything from this stream, of course, secure your financial freedom and your families. But once you guys are secure, go and help other people. Go and make other people's life better. Find people in your community. Find projects and people that really need help, and if you can give them financial help, fantastic. If you can give them knowledge and financial help, even better. So I think that's great, and I'm going to look forward to touching base with Steve again later on this year when PulseChain's launched, and we'll have a good chat then, man. So thanks a lot for coming on the stream. This has been really, really good.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for the support.
Take care, buddy. Guys, if you like that video, do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new videos. You can also drop a comment below, helps with the algo. Like the video, share with anyone, family and friends, someone who you think it might benefit. And keep watching this channel, because we're pretty much dropping daily content on here at the moment. Stay tuned for the referral program for the liquid loans sacrifice phase, which should be coming up very, very soon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.